Dear student, welcome to the online platform of Sanjeevani Mahavidyalaya Chapoli, affiliated to Swami Ramananda Tirth Marathwada University, Nanded. Here is Department of Botany, Semester 2, Paper 4. Name of the paper is Taxonomy of Angiosperm for B.Sc. first year. In previous lecture, we see the taxonomic hierarchy, and in this lecture we will going to discuss on the system of plant classification. There are three types of systems of plant classification. These are artificial classification, natural classification, and phylogenetic classification. Here we discuss one by one. We start from artificial classification. The artificial classification is the earliest system of classification and remained dominant from 300 BC up to the 830, where artificial systems which are based on few easily observable characters of plants, such as habit of plant, that is, it is tree or shrub or herbs, the number of stamens and carpels in the tree or plant. These are all the observable characters, and that observable characters are considered for the classification of the plants. Such type of classification using some arbitrary or least easily observable characters, often irrespective to their affinity, is called artificial classification or artificial characters. Some observable characters are considered, and that characters are often irrespective of their affinity. That characters are known as artificial characters, and that type of system, by using that artificial characters, is known as artificial classification. The sexual system of classification of Linnaeus is a good example of artificial classification. You know that Linnaeus system of classification. In this Linnaeus system of classification, some characters, observable characters, are considered, and that is the good example of artificial system of classification. In the Linnaeus system, the number of stamens are grouping in plants in 24 classes, as a result of which various unrelated taxa, which are not at all related but similar in one respect only, have been placed under the same class. Second system is natural classification. These systems of classification are based upon overall resemblance, mostly in gross morphology, thus that are utilizing different or many taxonomic characters as possible to group into taxa. That type of classification is known as natural classification. Number of characters are considered, and that characters are resembled to each other for that particular group of taxon. and that taxon is placed in one group. That type of system of classification is known as natural classification. Charles Darwin proposed the theory of evolution in 1859, postulates that the present day plants are descended from those existing in the ancient past through a series of modification in response to changing environmental condition, which means that all present day plants are related to each other in one way or in another way. Thus, the closely related plants should naturally be grouped together. In 1859, Darwin proposed his famous theory of evolution. In this theory, he described or stated that present day plants are the ancient in the past through a series of modification according to the available natural condition or environmental condition. The plants undergo some certain changes, and in this way the present day plants that are related to the past plants, if that point is considered, the naturally related plants or characters of the plants are considered in the natural system of classification. Thus, large number of characters shared by different taxa, the more closely related they are to each other. This is the basis of modern classification. And Bentham and Hooker's proposed most important natural system of classification of flowering plant. Bentham and Hooker proposed his system of classification, that is the natural system of classification, that Bentham and Hooker classified plants into cryptogams, that is non-flowering plants, and phanerogams. Phanerogram means flowering plants. Bentham and Hooker system of classification is helped to determine the relationship between the various groups of plants. It helps to determine the relationship between the various groups of plants but failed to identify phylogenetic relationship among different groups of plants. It is wrongly placed gymnosperm between monocotyledons and dicotyledons, and you know that present day the gymnosperms are far different from monocotyledons and dicotyledons. Third system of classification is phylogenetic system of classification. That system is based on evolutionary sequence and genetic relationship. This system was developed after the publication of Darwin's theory of evolution. Apart from the morphological characteristics found from fossil records, genetic constituents were also considered. It has been widely accepted by biologists all over the world. According to this system, all the organisms belonging to the same taxa originated from common ancestors. And here we stop the today's lecture, and in next lecture we see or describe all the classification systems in briefly. Thank you.